Hi, it's Dwayne from CodeWheel. We're at the last part of our building our homepage in Tailwind CSS. In this video, we're going to be looking at adding in transitions to our images and also minifying our CSS using Purgecss. The first thing we need to do is upgrade to the latest version of Tailwind CSS. You more than likely won't need to do this, but the latest update's got loads of good stuff which you find useful in this video. So let's start by updating our version of Tailwind. To do this, go to your command line. So if I just load that up. And what we need to type in is npm outdated. What this does, it tells us the current version of the packages that we're using and what the latest version is. So what we're looking for is Tailwind. So the current version that we're using is 1.2. The latest version is 1.45. If you've got anything less than 1.4, we're going to need to do this update. But doing the update is straightforward to do. So all we need to do is type in npm update -save -dev. Okay, that's just updating. Okay, look, I'll just pause the video shortly because it's taking a bit of a while to do. So to check if this has worked, what we need to do is go to the package.json file. And we can see it's been updated to 1.4.5, exactly what we wanted. We could also run npm outdated again. And that showed nothing, so that means it's all been updated. Okay, since that's been done, we need to recompile the CSS. So let's do that now. So npm run, I'll just make sure I remember the package name is build CSS. So npm run build CSS. Okay, so that's going to build the CSS for us. So let's go to the index file whilst it's doing that now. So go back to the editor and open index.html. Okay then, so one of the first things I want us to do is put a hover effect on these images. So when you hover over it, it does like a sort of opacity transition sort of effect. So let's do that now. So let's go to one of the images. So if you go to, excellent, that's done. If you go to, say, this one here. Okay then, so the image is up here. Okay, so let's put a background on it first. So if you do class, and the background color we used was 600, I think it was CW blue 600. And on the image, let's do, so we want to do, let's say we should call it hover, opacity of 75, that would do. And we want to put a transition on, so if we do easing, and we set a duration of, we start with, we do 100 and see how we get on. Excellent, so that's faded in. It's not showing the background of the blue though, so let's quickly see why it's doing that. Okay then, let's go back to the browser and let's see if I can figure this out. So let's have a look. It's got the blue, oh I know. Link are naturally an inline element, it needs to be a block element. And that should do it. Excellent. So it's got like nice little like blue opacity transition effect. So we just roll it out to the rest of them, rest of classes. So the way we do that is, I'll just copy that Control Shift L. What Control Shift L does is highlights all the same words that are together on the page. So that will do that for you. And now we just need to add in the extra class we just added on then. So it's hover, opacity, and duration of 100. And that should be on all of them except for the top one. So we could add that to the top one now as well. So the top image just needs a background of 600 on. CW blue 600. Excellent. Now just refresh that. If you notice, then it's doing a weird blue sort of flashing once you press Control F5. So I don't like that. So let's get rid of that now. So to do that, all we need to do is where we've got the BG of CW600, replace that with a hover. We need to do top one as well. Okay, that's all done. So excellent, so that's gone. Ooh, we need to do it to these bottom ones too, so just quickly go down. So the link is, I'll just copy one from above. So it's hover, BG, CW600. Add it to both of them too, and now we just need to do the images classes. Yep, that's all changed. So all the images have changed over. So I think that's a lot more better than what we had before. Okay, something else that was added recently into Tailwind was, it's called the space separator. So if you go to Tailwind website, so it's called space between. So on my previous list elements, I was adding on the margin after each element. So I did margin, I think it was about 15 pixels, margin right 15 pixels, margin right 15 pixels. With the space element, we just need to add it to the parent one, and it would do it to all the subsequent child elements, which is a lot more better for us. So let's quickly do that now. So the one that we'll be using is space-x. So if you go back to our code, and we're going to replace the one in the top navigation. See, if you look, I've done MR10 here, which we no longer don't need. So if you just remove these. And the syntax was, leave your margin left, but mine was margin right. But it's, so long as the difference is there, that's all that matters. We had 10 on ours, so it's going to be space x-10. So space x-10. Oops. Perfect. Nothing's changed what we wanted to happen. We've also got links on the bottom of the page as well. So let's do the same for these ones. So if we just ours was MR10, so let's replace all these. Okay, to do this, I'm just pressing Control G. I'm not too sure if it's the same keyboard shortcuts as everybody else. I usually customize my keyboard shortcuts, but in my editor it's Control G. So X hyphen space hyphen 10. No, that's not worked correctly. So space hyphen X. Oh, I've got the wrong way around. So space hyphen X hyphen 10. That's better. Oops, wrong site. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So the next bit I want us to look at now is purging the CSS file. If you open up our Explorer file again, and if you check what ours is, prod, and if I type in ls-lh, that shows it's 2.2 megs, or if you look up here actually, that might be easier. Properties, 2.1 megs. That's a massive file size to let the user download, and that's probably one of the problems with Tailwind, because the files it generates loads of classes that we don't always need, so the file ends up being big. But it's not a problem, because what we use now is Purgecss, and that just removes all the classes we don't need. Because if I open up the main.css and have a look at what it looks like, so main.css, not that one, it's prod main. So it's showing all this stuff, but if we keep going down, see a lot of these stuff we're not using up to space 64. So there's no need in the screen in our style sheets. Divide, we're not using the divide elements. We're not using any of the core Tailwind colors. And also down to like responsive elements, we're not using all, like these transitions here. So that's just unwanted classes for us. So what Purgecss does is remove all these classes which you don't need. How it works is it looks at the HTML file, what classes you're using, and then if it's not inside that file, it removes them. It also works in stuff like PHP or a JS file or view file. We just need to give it that, or provide a list of whitelist classes you don't want it to remove. But let's go through that now. So if you go to the Tailwind CSS site and look at the purge process. Okay, so we want to go down to let's keep going. That's it. Here, that's it. Okay, to start off, what we need to do. So in this example, see if you want to ignore the if you want to ignore from an HTML file, a view file, or JSX file, that's the syntax you use. So let's add that to our Tailwind config now. So if you go back to our editor and open up our Tailwind config, and it's going to go at the top, so we're going to call it purge, and we just put inside a array, so it's going to be .HTML. Okay, go back to the site. For example, yeah, it's a JS. Now, whenever you compile your CSS with node environment set to production, Tailwind would automatically purge your unused styles from your CSS. Okay, that's straightforward to do. So if we open up our package.json file, not package.json. Oh, that's the log file. If we open up our package.json file, there we go. If we just duplicate this line, let's put a comment in of that one. And then what we need to do is create a new one called prod CSS. And then we need to set the node environment. So node env equals production. Was it production? It's just like, yeah, production. Post CSS, and let's call it main.min.css. Okay, so if this works, it should create a new CSS file called main.min.css with all the classes we're not using stripped out. So let's do it. So let's have a look. If I type in npm run build prod :CSS, excellent. Okay, it looks like it's worked. And if you see, I'll look at that difference already, 17.4 kilobytes and compared to 2.1 megabytes. That's just like loads more or less. So that's the benefit of Purgecss. It just removes all the CSS that we don't need. Let's just make sure it still works. So if you go back to the code editor, because sometimes it strips out a bit too much, so, and change that to min. So it's going to be main.min.css. Okay then, so it looks like, yep, images are working. The hover effect, they're all working. Let's check the other smaller sizes. So, yep. Okay, and let's check on mobile. Excellent, that's all working as well. So if you just show that again, so if you go back to the main.css, if you check the properties, so before 2.1 meg, once we run Purgecss, shrinks it down to 17.4 kilobytes. That's just loads more difference. So if you're using Tailwind, it's definitely worth running it through Purgecss afterwards, because it just takes so much of the file size down. Now if you compare the designs to what we've, now if you compare the code to what we've done from the design, so that's the design here. Okay, yeah. I think the design's slightly narrower, but that's okay. And I think this font, no, the font's the same. Is it the same? Oh, I think that font's slightly smaller. But again, I think that looks okay how it is. Have you added in the board? Oh, we've missed that border. Okay, we quickly add in that border now in a sec. Is everything else okay? Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, we quickly add in that border. I missed that. So if you go back to the editor, I think we added in the border for the mobile, so we just need to make it visible on all sides. So all we need to do is remove that, because we had that bordering when it was on the mobile screen sizes. Excellent, that's okay. So is it the right? Yeah. Excellent. There's loads of stuff we could do to this afterwards. Like we could start building out the individual single pages, the category pages, but I think now's a good point to stop it. That's why I think this is a good stage at where we are now. If you found this video useful and you're looking forward to similar videos to this, I would recommend going to, if you've not been to already, is Adam Raven's channel. I highly recommend going to his channel. It's Adam Raven. He's the creator of the Tailwind CSS, and he does like loads of live streams, and it's good to work out his process and how he tackles the problems when he's building web pages for his Tailwind UI product. So this is the end of the video. I will leave a link to the design and the code in the description. If you liked this video, if you can give us a like. Also, if you subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. Thanks for the time, and I'll see you in the next video.